The last time I saw my mother alive, I was standing over her with a scalpel in my hand while a machine screamed that her heart was stopping. And in that moment, all I could feel was the strangest, most disturbing sense of calm. My name's Cassandra, and for most of my life, I believed that if I just tried hard enough, my family would finally see me. That night in the operating room proved me wrong. Before I take you into that OR, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button on Anonymous Confessions. We share real stories about family, betrayal, and the moments that break us. And if you've ever been the one your family leaned on until you collapsed, drop a comment and let me know I'm not alone. The night everything changed, I was 18, standing in my childhood kitchen holding a letter that was supposed to rewrite my future. Harvard. The word felt electric in my mouth. I read it out loud to my mother, my father, my little sister Rachel, and waited for the celebration. Instead, the kitchen went silent. My mother's face didn't crack into a smile. It hardened into something I didn't recognize yet. She said, "Harvard is expensive. Your sister needs you here. She needs it more." I tried to explain about scholarships, loans, work study. I was good at explaining things back then, but my mother just folded her arms and used the words that would haunt me for years. "You're strong. You'll be fine anywhere. She isn't. You owe us that." That night, I came home from my diner shift and found my acceptance letter crumpled in the trash, coffee grounds bleeding into the ink. My mother had called Harvard herself. She told them I wouldn't be coming, and when I asked her how she could do that, she said, "You live under our roof. You eat our food. Family comes first." The next morning, my clothes were in black trash bags by the front door. My favorite jacket hung out of one like a tongue. My mother stood in the doorway and watched me drag my life out of her house. She said, "If you choose Harvard, don't bother choosing this family." I didn't choose Harvard, she made sure of that, but I walked out anyway. This is the part of the story where most people expect me to say I forgave them. Stick with me on Anonymous Confessions. Hit like if you've ever had to walk away from someone you loved just to survive. And subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. For years, I slept on couches, worked double shifts, and rebuilt myself from scratch. I enrolled at a state school when a scholarship finally came through. I threw myself into pre-med like medicine was oxygen, and somewhere along the way, I stopped answering their calls. My father left voicemails I never listened to. My mother sent emails that started with "Dear Cassandra" and ended with "You broke this family." I archived them without reading. I told myself I was protecting my peace. Maybe I was. Maybe I was also just too tired to keep bleeding. Then, during a night shift in my second year of residency, a nurse handed me her phone. "Is this you?" she asked. It was a GoFundMe. My father's face filled the screen, lit by the kitchen light I remembered too well. The title read, "Help us save our wife and mother." In the video, he said, "Our eldest daughter is a doctor now, but she's chosen not to be involved. We're not here to judge, we're just asking for help." The photos that followed showed my mother in a hospital gown, my sister holding her hand, and a family portrait with me cropped out so neatly you'd never know I once stood between them. The comments were a war zone. Strangers called me selfish, heartless, a disgrace. But buried beneath the anger were whispers that cut deeper. One read, "If your daughter went no contact, something happened. Parents, be honest, did you ever choose one kid over the other?" Another said, "Golden children rarely realize someone else paid for their crown." I sat in that staff lounge, my pager buzzing, and realized my family had rewritten history so perfectly that even I started to doubt my own memories. A few weeks later, my mother showed up at my hospital, not in the waiting room, but in my consultation office, sitting in a wheelchair with a chart that said Stage 3. The oncologist explained it privately. Resectable but complicated. Insurance was a disaster. The moment we were alone, my mother grabbed my wrist with fingers like claws and whispered, "You'll fix this. You'll talk to your people. Get me the best surgeon. After everything we did for you, you owe me that much." The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, and for one sickening moment, I was 18 again, holding a crumpled letter over a trash can. But this time, something in me didn't break. This time, I looked at her chart, at the tumor on the scan, and realized we were standing at the same doorway, different hallway, same choice. Only now, I wasn't the one with everything to lose. The surgery was brutal. I stood in that operating room, masked and gloved, watching the team work. When the monitor screamed that flat, merciless line, when the anesthesiologist shouted numbers and someone started chest compressions, I leaned close to my mother's ear before they wheeled her fully under the lights. I said the sentence I had been rehearsing since the night my clothes ended up in trash bags. "You need a miracle? Ask your golden child." She lived. That's the part that surprises people. She lived, and the bills started arriving. My father called, voice shaking. "We're drowning. There's a program at the hospital, an employee family assistance thing. My mother thought you'd sign." I said, "They told you I refused?" Silence. Then, "She said you couldn't, that it would get you in trouble." I said, "It wouldn't. I chose not to." He asked why, and the bewilderment in his voice made something in me go cold. I said, "When Mom threw my clothes into trash bags and told me I wasn't family anymore, did you think about whether that would get me in trouble? When Rachel threatened to call the police on me for walking into my own room, did you stop her? You told me I wasn't family. I'm just respecting the contract." 6 months later, the house was gone. I didn't need a GoFundMe update to know. The for sale sign in the background of their videos had disappeared, replaced by a bland apartment hallway. Then Rachel called, not screaming, not accusing, just exhausted. She said, "I found something, Mom's old diary from before I was born. You should see it." We met at a coffee shop. She slid a worn notebook across the table. The entries were written in my mother's looping, impatient handwriting. She had been a nurse once. She had been fired after a medication error, blamed a doctor, and never forgave the system that let her fall. One entry read, "Saw a med student today. Stupid little girl walking around like she owns the ward. I could have done that if I hadn't gotten pregnant." Another, written after my Harvard letter arrived, "Cassie got into Harvard. Of course she did. She got everything I didn't. If she leaves, what will I have left? Just Rachel, who can't even get through a semester? Maybe it's better if Cassie stays local. She owes us." The "owes" was underlined 3 times. I closed the diary, my stomach twisting. My mother hadn't just been protecting Rachel, she had been protecting herself from the mirror of my success. My white coat, my acceptance letters, my surgical badge, they were all billboards advertising her own failures. She wasn't sacrificing for us, she was jealous. If this story is hitting close to home, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to Anonymous Confessions, and drop a comment. Tell me your story, because the only thing heavier than carrying your own pain is carrying it alone. A year after the surgery, the hospital gave me an award for dedication and ethical practice. I stood on a stage under soft lights, a plaque in my hand, applause washing over me like static. After the ceremony, I slipped back to my office. On my wall hang 3 frames: my medical school acceptance, my original Harvard letter, creased and coffee-stained, the one my mother threw away, and her apology letter, sent after the surgery, the one that started with "I'm sorry" and ended with "Please help us just this once." I framed them together to remind myself what it costs to ignore patterns. Rachel showed up at my office door that night. She looked at the wall, at the letters, at the diploma. "You really framed them," she said. "I used to think you were dramatic. I didn't realize she called Harvard. I didn't realize she told Dad you'd be fine anywhere because you were built for suffering." She paused, then said, After the surgery, when you refused to sign that form, I hated you for months. Then I started working double shifts, seeing the bills, listening to Mom say, "Rachel will fix it, Rachel will stay, Rachel owes me." And I realized she wasn't asking me to love her, she was asking me to live the life she'd already decided for me. We stood there in the quiet buzz of the fluorescent light. I looked at the letters, at Rachel, at the reflection of my white coat in the glass. People keep asking if I regret it, if I lie awake wondering if I should have done more. Sometimes I do lie awake, but not for the reasons they think. I'm not haunted by what I failed to give her. I'm haunted by how long it took me to stop giving. So if the people who broke you showed up years later begging you to save them, what would you do? Would you bleed for them one more time just so everyone could say you were a good child? Or would you finally choose yourself, knowing the world might call you heartless for refusing to be their hero ever again?